Ancient myths might be hiding their greatest secrets in plain sight. We often treat them as simple stories of gods and monsters. But what if they are actually coded maps for the soul's journey? The legendary labors of Hercules are one of these profound puzzles, a 12-step allegory for spiritual initiation and radical personal transformation. By the end of our journey, you will possess a new lens to view your own challenges, seeing them not as random obstacles, but as sacred trials designed for your growth. We will uncover why a hero had to strangle an invulnerable lion, and what chasing a magical deer has to do with your own mind, what part of your own inner world feels like it's waiting for a hero's touch. These 12 labors are far more than a checklist of impossible tasks. They form a precise spiritual blueprint, a coded map guiding the initiate from a state of unconscious bondage toward enlightened freedom. This is the hero's journey internalized, a profound allegory for the soul's own evolution. At its core, this path describes the descent of pure spirit into the dense world of matter, the long and arduous purification of the lower self, and the ultimate triumphant return to a state of divine consciousness, or apotheosis. Think of it as a universal story, one that echoes in spiritual traditions across the globe. It is the journey from identifying solely with your temporary personality and its dramas, to realizing your true nature as something eternal and vast. Each labor Hercules undertakes is a stage in this grand alchemical process. He begins as a flawed, almost brutish figure, enslaved by his own passions and mistakes. His tasks are not punishments, but a prescribed curriculum for his transformation. He must confront the wild, untamed aspects of his own nature, represented by the monstrous beasts. He must cleanse the accumulated filth of past actions, symbolized by cleaning the Augean stables. He must journey to the very edge of the known world and back, facing the deepest shadows within his own psyche. This is the universal spiritual quest. It is the same path described by the mystic seeking union with the divine, the yogi mastering the energies of the body, or the everyday person striving to live with more wisdom and less fear. Your own life, with its cycles of challenge, learning, and growth, is a personal version of this ancient map. The trials you face, the inner demons you wrestle with, the moments you feel lost in a dark forest, are all part of this sacred curriculum. The ultimate goal is not to escape the world, but to transform your experience of it, to achieve a consciousness that can hold both the human and the divine in a single, harmonious awareness. This is the promise hidden within the myth, a secret so powerful it can reframe your entire existence. What would it mean to see your greatest struggle not as a curse, but as your own personal Nemean Lion, an initiation designed specifically for your awakening? Hercules' first labor sends him into a dark, sunless grove to face a creature of myth. The Nemean Lion is no ordinary beast. Its golden hide is said to be utterly impenetrable, shrugging off any sword, spear, or arrow. This is our first profound clue. The lion represents our own raw, untamed nature, the powerful energies of the animal self that reside in the core of our being. In esoteric anatomy, this is the domain of the solar plexus, the center of our primal desires, our hunger for power, and our most basic egoic drives. Think of that churning feeling in your gut when you feel threatened, or that surge of ambition that demands to be fed. That is the lion stirring within its shadowy cave. Its invulnerability to external weapons reveals a fundamental spiritual law. You cannot conquer the lower self with more force. You cannot simply suppress your desires or fight your ego with the very brutality it understands. That approach only makes the beast stronger, more resistant. Hercules discovers this the hard way. His club and arrows are useless. To succeed, he must enter the lion's own dark cave and use his bare hands, confronting the beast in the intimate space of its own power. This is the internal struggle. It is the act of turning inward, of using the power of conscious spiritual will, not brute force, to grapple with and ultimately integrate these wild parts of ourselves. The lion's skin itself holds another secret. This golden hide is our astral body, the subtle energetic field of our emotions and desires. In its untamed state, this body is reactive and volatile, easily wounded by external criticism or internal turmoil. It makes us emotionally invulnerable in the worst way, armored and closed off. But once the lion is subdued from within, that same skin becomes a different kind of protection. Hercules wears it as a cloak. The conquered desire, when mastered, becomes a source of immense personal power and resilience. Your disciplined will, born from inner conflict, becomes your new armor. It shields you from being controlled by every passing whim or storm of emotion. So the question this labor leaves us with is not how to kill a part of ourselves, but how to lovingly and firmly embrace it. What raw, powerful energy is pacing in the dark cave of your own solar plexus, waiting not for a fight, but for the conscious touch of your higher awareness? This victory in the dark cave was only the beginning. A slain beast is merely a carcass, but a mastered power becomes a permanent ally. Hercules does not leave the lion's skin behind as a trophy. He carefully removes it and wears it as his own cloak, a garment he will carry through every labor to come. This is the profound act of integration. The raw, primal energy of the solar plexus, once a chaotic force that controlled him, is now a source of his unshakable strength. That gut-level instinct for self-preservation, when purified, becomes the very root of courage. That hunger for personal power, when directed by a higher purpose, transforms into the unwavering will to achieve the impossible. This is the alchemical secret of transmutation. You are not here to destroy your base instincts, but to refine them. Think of the intense focus an athlete channels from their competitive drive, or the profound compassion a healer draws from their own experience of pain. Your anger at injustice, when mastered, can fuel a stand for what is right. Your desire for recognition, when purified, can become a drive for excellence that serves others. This is what it means to wear the lion's skin. Your lower nature, once your master, becomes the very substance of your spiritual armor. It grants you a new kind of resilience, an emotional fortitude that is no longer easily pierced by fear or doubt. You move through the world not as a suppressed version of yourself, trying to be good, but as an integrated being, empowered by the full spectrum of your humanity. The journey ahead for Hercules is long and filled with greater challenges, but he now faces them with a core of unshakable confidence. He carries the proof of his first initiation with him, a constant reminder that the greatest power he will ever wield is the power he has reclaimed from within. What chaotic energy within you, if lovingly mastered, could become the defining strength for your next great challenge? Yet this newfound strength would soon face a far more insidious foe. From the murky swamps of Lerna, a monstrous hydra emerges, a creature with not one, but many heads, and a central head that is immortal. Where the lion was a singular, brute force, the hydra represents the chaotic, deceptive, and endlessly proliferating nature of our own untamed mind. This is the battle of the second labor, a confrontation with the very source of our inner illusions. Every time Hercules lops off one of the beast's heads with his sword, two more instantly grow back in its place. This is a perfect metaphor for our own futile attempts to control thought with more thought. You try to argue away a worry, only to find it has split into two new anxieties. You attempt to suppress a memory, and it resurfaces with twice the emotional force. This is the nature of the discursive mind, a relentless generator of problems that can never be solved on its own level. The true horror of the Hydra lies not in its many heads, but in its immortal central head, the one that cannot be killed by any conventional means. This represents the core sense of a separate self, the egoic I, that believes it is the thinker of all these thoughts. This I is the source of the entire mental proliferation, the root from which all illusion springs. It cannot be cut down, because the one wielding the sword is, in that moment, identified with it. So how does Hercules finally conquer this impossible creature? He realizes he cannot win this battle alone. He calls upon his nephew, Iolaus, for help. As Hercules severs each head, Iolaus swiftly cauterizes the bleeding stump with a blazing torch, preventing new ones from growing. This is the turning point. The sword is our power of discrimination, our ability to discern truth from falsehood. But discrimination alone is not enough. The torch, the fire, is the light of spiritual insight, a higher consciousness that comes from beyond the thinking mind itself. It is the sudden, intuitive flash of understanding that sees a troubling thought for what it truly is, a temporary mental formation, not ultimate reality. This divine fire does not fight the thought. It simply illuminates its empty nature, and in that light, the thought loses its power to multiply. This is the practice of mindful awareness. You notice a thought of fear arising, the first head of the Hydra. Instead of engaging it, wrestling with it, or trying to cut it down with logical arguments, you simply apply the fire of your non-judgmental attention. You observe the fear without becoming it. You see it as a pattern of energy in the mind, and by not feeding it, it cannot spawn two more fears. The thought arises, it is seen, and it passes away, its roots seared by the heat of pure awareness. Your own mind, in its quietest moments, has likely shown you this fire. It is that sudden peace that descends when you stop trying to figure everything out. It is the clarity that emerges not from thinking, but from a deep, wordless knowing. This labor teaches us that we cannot outthink the mind. We must learn to witness it from a higher vantage point, to call upon the Iolaus within, the part of us that holds the torch of a consciousness greater than thought itself. What swamp of repetitive thinking are you currently lost in? And what would it feel like to stop swinging the sword and instead reach for the torch? This act of calling for help reveals a profound spiritual truth. Hercules, the embodiment of the striving human personality, cannot defeat the Hydra on his own. He needs an ally, a consciousness that operates from a higher plane. Iolaus is not just a helper. He is a symbol of our own higher self, that timeless, intuitive aspect of our being that exists beyond the chaos of the thinking mind. While Hercules wrestles in the mud and confusion of the swamp, Iolaus stands on firmer ground, holding the purifying fire. This is the difference between battling a problem with the same mind that created it and accessing a wisdom that transcends the problem entirely. Think of a moment when you have been completely tangled in a web of worry, going in circles for hours or even days. Then, suddenly, while you are taking a walk or just as you wake up, a clear and simple insight appears from nowhere. It cuts through the mental noise not with force, but with a quiet, undeniable truth. That flash of knowing is your Iolaus, your Buddhic consciousness, applying its torch to the stump of your anxiety. It does not argue with your fears. It simply illuminates their unreality, and in that light, they lose their power to regenerate. This higher consciousness is not something you need to create. It is something you must learn to invite. It is the part of you that is already at peace, already whole, and already sees the bigger picture. Your task, like that of Hercules, is to recognize your own limitation and to consciously call upon that greater resource. You must stop swinging the sword of your frantic thoughts and, in a moment of surrender, make space for the fire of a deeper knowing to do its work. This is the sacred partnership at the heart of spiritual growth, the beautiful collaboration between the human personality that strives and the higher self that knows. What problem in your life feels like a many-headed Hydra right now? And what would it mean to stop fighting it alone and instead ask for the clarity that can only come from a higher place within you? With the swamp of the mind behind him, our hero now faces a task of breathtaking grace and speed. The third labor of Hercules is not a battle against a monster, but a patient, year-long pursuit of the Lernean Hydra, a magnificent creature sacred to the goddess Artemis. This is no ordinary deer. It is described as having golden horns and hooves of bronze, and it is so swift it can outrun a flying arrow. Here, the myth shifts from conquering the lower self to courting the higher one. The hind represents the elusive, intuitive mind, that aspect of our consciousness that is not bound by logic or linear thought. Its golden horns are not weapons, but receivers, antennae tuned to the frequencies of spiritual illumination and divine inspiration. This is the mind that knows without reasoning, that sees patterns invisible to the everyday eye, and that connects us directly to a realm of pure knowing. You have likely felt its presence in a moment of sudden clarity, a creative breakthrough, or a deep sense of peace that arrived for no logical reason. That flash of insight is the hind, glimpsed for a moment before it darts back into the forest of the unconscious. The challenge Hercules faces is immense. He cannot capture this creature by force, by setting traps, or by wrestling it to the ground. Any attempt at violence would be a profound sacrilege, for the hind is sacred to Artemis, the divine feminine principle. Artemis represents nature in its pure, untamed state, the intuitive wisdom of the wild, and the cool, reflective light of the moon. This tells us everything about how we must approach our own higher mind. We cannot command it, demand it, or force it to appear. We must learn to approach it with gentleness, reverence, and unwavering patience. Hercules spends an entire year tracking the hind, learning its habits, its paths through the forest, its favorite watering holes. This is the long, dedicated practice of inner observation, of learning the subtle landscapes of our own consciousness. It is the daily commitment to meditation, to quiet contemplation, to walking in nature without a destination. You are not chasing an idea. You are creating the conditions where intuition can finally feel safe enough to approach. The moment of capture is deeply symbolic. Hercules does not injure the beautiful animal. He gently nets it, or, in some versions, simply tires it out through his persistent, non-aggressive pursuit. He captures it alive and unharmed. This is the ultimate goal, to harness the power of the higher mind without crushing its delicate, spontaneous nature. It is the art of bringing that lightning flash of insight down into your daily awareness, allowing it to guide your decisions without the noisy interference of the ego. When you can hold that intuitive knowing steady, you have captured the hind. You have integrated a piece of the divine feminine principle, the receptive, wise, and nurturing energy that balances the assertive will of the hero. Your own journey requires both the strength to subdue the inner lion and the gentle patience to befriend the inner deer. What elusive intuition have you been trying to chase down with force, when what it truly needs is your quiet, reverent attention? But a captured intuition must be carried through a world still thick with untamed forces. Hercules, with the sacred hind secured, now turns his attention to a creature of pure, rampaging vitality, the Erymanthian boar. This is not a beast of subtle illusion like the Hydra, or a divine messenger like the hind. The boar is raw, primal power incarnate, a force of nature that tears up the very earth with its tusks, devastating the countryside around Mount Erymanthus. In the esoteric framework, this labor plunges us into the realm of the vital body, the etheric double that is the reservoir of our life force itself. This is the energy that animates your body, the driving power behind your passions, your appetites, and your most basic instinct to survive and thrive. The boar represents the animal soul in its pure, undirected state, a tremendous reservoir of power that, when left unchecked, can wreak havoc in your life. Think of those moments when a surge of unchecked anger ruins a relationship, or when a compulsive desire for pleasure leads you down a destructive path. That is the boar running wild, trampling the delicate gardens of your peace and relationships. Its tusks are not just weapons, they are symbols of how this untamed vitality roots and tears at the foundation of your spiritual progress, uprooting patience and scattering discipline to the winds. The command given to Hercules is critically important. He is not asked to kill the boar. He must capture it alive and bring it back, unharmed, to the court of King Eurystheus. This instruction holds the entire secret of the labor. You are not here to annihilate your vital energy, your passion, or your life force. To do so would be a spiritual catastrophe, leaving you a hollow, lifeless shell. The goal is not destruction, but mastery. You must learn to subdue this incredible power, to bring it under the conscious, gentle, and firm control of your awakened spirit. How does Hercules achieve this? He does not confront the boar head-on in its frenzied state. Instead, he uses his wisdom and the environment. He drives the roaring beast into a deep snowbank, where its own frantic struggles only serve to exhaust it, trapping it in the very substance it sought to dominate. The snow here is a beautiful symbol of the cool, reflective power of the higher mind, the same intuitive clarity he gained from capturing the hind. When a surge of raw, boiling emotion or compulsive desire arises within you, you cannot meet it with equal heat. That only creates an internal battle where the most brutal force wins. Instead, you must learn to surround that frenzy with the cool, spacious awareness of your observing self. You watch the anger without becoming it. You feel the craving without acting on it. You hold it in the snow of your mindful presence, where its frantic energy, with no outlet for expression, gradually tires itself out and becomes still. This is the act of capturing the boar alive, the exhausted, subdued beast that Hercules carries back on his shoulders is not a dead thing, but a potent source of energy that is now available for a higher purpose. That same fiery passion that once destroyed your peace can, when mastered, become the unwavering devotion you direct toward your spiritual goals. That raw survival instinct, when purified, transforms into the resilient life force that sustains you through any trial. Your animal soul is not your enemy, it is your engine. The fourth labor teaches us that the spiritual path is not about rejecting our humanity, but about harnessing its profound power, so that every ounce of your life force is ultimately placed in the service of your awakening. What untamed force of vitality within you is currently rooting up your inner landscape, and what would it feel like to meet it not with a weapon, but with the cool, patient snow of your own conscious awareness? Mastering the raw power of the boar is one thing, but what do you do with the mess it has already left behind? The energy of our passions and appetites, when left unchecked, does not just vanish. It leaves a residue, an accumulation of psychic and emotional waste that clogs the inner channels of our being. This brings us to the fifth labor, a task so repulsive and immense it seems almost absurd. Hercules is commanded to cleanse the Augean stables, a vast complex that housed thousands of cattle and had not been cleaned in 30 years. The filth was legendary, a mountain of decay that had poisoned the very land. This is not a story about physical hygiene. It is a profound allegory for the purification of the astral body, the subtle energy field of our emotions, desires, and memories. Think of your own inner world, every unresolved argument, every burst of envy you did not process, every moment of fear you suppressed, every negative thought you recycled. All of it contributes to a kind of psychic sludge. This is the emotional and karmic filth that accumulates over a lifetime, even over many lifetimes. It clouds your perception, weighs down your spirit, and attracts more of the same low vibrational energy into your life. It is the reason you sometimes feel stuck in repetitive patterns, unable to break free despite your best intentions. You are trying to move forward, but you are wading through the deep, clinging muck of your own unprocessed past. The sheer scale of the stables represents the monumental nature of this inner cleansing. To face it with a shovel and a bucket, the tools of the personal ego, would be a lifetime of futile labor. This is the mistake so many of us make. We try to clean up our emotional lives through sheer willpower alone, digging through old traumas with our bare hands, only to find the task is endless, and we are soon overwhelmed by the stench. Hercules, in his growing wisdom, understands that a problem of this magnitude requires a divine solution. He does not even enter the stables. Instead, he looks at the two mighty rivers, the Alpheus and the Peneus, flowing nearby. With a strength that is now as much about intelligence as it is about muscle, he reroutes their channels, causing the purifying waters to surge through the filthy stables, washing every last trace of decay away in a single mighty flow. The rivers are the perfect symbol. They represent a powerful, conscious influx of spiritual energy, the direct grace of a higher consciousness. This is not something you generate from your limited personal self. It is something you invite, you allow, you channel. It is the energy of pure love, of forgiveness, of deep meditation, or of a sudden, profound spiritual experience that rewires your entire being. When this divine current is allowed to flow through your astral body, it does not analyze each piece of filth. It does not require you to relive every painful memory. It simply washes through the accumulated layers of karma and negative thought forms, dissolving them in its powerful, purifying tide. You might experience this as a moment of radical forgiveness, where a lifelong grudge simply melts away. You might feel it during a deep meditation retreat, where layers of anxiety you thought were permanent simply loosen and float free. It is the recognition that you are not the sum of your past mistakes or your accumulated pain. You are the vast, clean space through which the river flows. The labor was completed in a day, a testament to the fact that spiritual grace can accomplish in a single instant what the ego could not achieve in 30 years of struggle. This is the promise of the Augean stables. Your past does not have to define you. The emotional baggage you carry can be released not by digging through it, but by opening the floodgates to a love and a light that are far greater than your personal story. What rivers of spiritual energy are waiting to be invited into the stables of your own heart, ready to cleanse what you have been unable to clean on your own? But a soul washed clean becomes a bright and tempting target. After the profound purification of the Augean stables, Hercules faces a new and strangely unsettling challenge. He is sent to a dark, marshy lake at Stymphalis, a place haunted by a flock of monstrous, man-eating birds. These are not creatures of flesh and blood in the ordinary sense. They are born from the swampy vapors of the newly cleaned astral realm. This is the sixth labor, and it reveals a crucial, often overlooked stage of the spiritual path. When you have done the hard work of clearing out your major emotional blockages, you create a purer, more sensitive inner space, and into that space, the subtlest impurities now rise to be seen. The Stymphalian birds represent these lingering astral entities, the obsessive thought forms, the psychic echoes of past traumas, and the fluttery anxieties that were once hidden in the larger filth. They are the half-formed fears that circle your mind at 3 in the morning. They are the persistent doubts that peck away at your newfound confidence. They are the foreign, negative energies you can suddenly feel when you walk into a room, because your own inner noise has quieted enough to perceive them. These birds have metallic feathers they can launch like arrows, symbolizing how these subtle thoughts and energies can actually pierce your peace and cause real emotional pain. They breed in the stagnant waters of the unconscious, and they feed on your attention. Trying to fight them directly, to shoot them down one by one, would be as futile as Hercules trying to hunt every single bird in the vast, foggy marsh. He would be quickly overwhelmed. The solution arrives not from his own strength, but as a divine gift. The goddess Athena, embodiment of divine wisdom and strategy, presents him with a powerful tool, a giant bronze rattle. This is not a weapon of destruction, but an instrument of sacred sound. The clamor this rattle creates is so immense, so jarringly loud, that it terrifies the birds, stirring them from their roosts and driving them into the air, where Hercules can then use his arrows to pick them off as they flee in confusion. This rattle holds the entire secret to this labor. It represents the conscious use of mantra, of prayer, of toning, or of any focused spiritual vibration. You cannot argue with an obsessive thought. You cannot reason with a wave of anxiety, but you can overwhelm its frequency with a higher, more powerful one. When a flock of fearful thoughts begins to circle your mind, engaging with their content is like trying to pluck the birds from the air with your bare hands. It is a messy and ultimately losing battle. Instead, you must reach for your own rattle. This might be the silent, internal repetition of a sacred word or phrase. It could be the focused chanting of a sound like Om, whose vibration is known to calm the mental field. It might even be losing yourself in a piece of sublime music that lifts your consciousness to a plane where those petty worries cannot survive. The sacred sound does not fight the negative thought. It simply creates a vibrational environment that is incompatible with its existence. The chaotic, fearful thought form cannot maintain its cohesion in the presence of a coherent, divine frequency. It is scattered just like the birds, and in that state of dispersal, it loses all power over you. Your own mind has its own Athena, its own wisdom that knows how to use this tool. It is that part of you that instinctively takes a deep, calming breath and repeats a quiet affirmation when fear arises. It is the part that chooses to listen to uplifting words instead of the news, recognizing that one nourishes your spirit while the other feeds the birds of worry. This labor teaches us that after purification, we must become guardians of our own vibrational atmosphere. We must learn to fill our inner space with sounds, words, and thoughts of such high and clear frequency that the chattering, pecking entities of the lower astral simply cannot find a place to land. What is the sacred rattle you can reach for the next time a flock of anxious thoughts darkens your newly cleared sky? The marsh falls silent, its chaotic flux scattered by the sacred sound, and a new kind of power now demands the hero's attention. Far from the stagnant waters, on the sun-drenched island of Crete, rages the Cretan bull, a beast of pure, untamed potency sent by the god Poseidon himself. This is no ordinary animal, but a living embodiment of the raw creative fire that courses through all of life. In esoteric tradition, this is the powerful current often known as Kundalini, or the libidinal life force, the very energy of creation and procreation that sleeps at the base of the spine. This force is neither good nor evil. It is simply immense. Its wild, untamed nature is perfectly illustrated by its mythic origin. The bull was a divine gift, but Queen Pasiphae, consumed by an unnatural lust, coupled with it, giving birth to the monstrous Minotaur. Here lies the central lesson of the seventh labor. The same creative energy that can birth a monster in the shadow of obsession can also become the foundation for a spiritual empire when mastered by a conscious will. This is the power behind your greatest passions, your deepest drives, and your most profound inspirations. Left to run wild, governed by lower desires, this force becomes a destructive madness, laying waste to relationships, health, and inner peace, just as the bull was ravaging the Cretan countryside. It can trap you in a labyrinth of your own compulsive making. But when this very same energy is recognized, respected, and brought under the gentle, firm command of your higher self, it transforms into the most potent fuel for your spiritual journey. Hercules does not kill the bull. His task is to capture it, to subdue its raging power without extinguishing its vital flame. He wrestles the magnificent beast into submission, not with weapons, but with his own integrated strength, the very power he gained from mastering the lion and the boar. This is an internal act of immense courage and focus. It is the moment you choose to channel the surge of a powerful emotion, like anger or desire, into a creative act rather than a destructive outburst. It is the decision to take that intense, restless energy buzzing in your system and pour it into a painting, a project, a prayer, or an act of profound service. The bull, once captured, is led calmly across the sea back to the mainland. This is the ultimate aim, to direct this tremendous creative current through the landscape of your entire being, to use it to build and to bless, rather than to destroy. Your own creative life force is a sacred gift. The question is, are you allowing it to run wild, creating minotaurs in the dark corners of your psyche? Or are you, like Hercules, learning to grasp its horns and guide its incredible power toward a divine purpose? Even a captured creative fire can still birth new forms of madness. Our hero now journeys to the cold, windswept plains of Thrace, to a kingdom ruled by a savage king named Diomes. Here, he encounters his eighth labor, a challenge that moves beyond raw power into the realm of perversion. Diomes owns a herd of magnificent mares, but these are no ordinary horses. They are creatures of terrible beauty, driven insane by their master and trained to crave human flesh. The symbolism here is chillingly precise. The mares of Diomes represent our own wild, untamed passions and lower desires, the very energies of the vital body that have been twisted from their natural state into something monstrous. Think of a healthy appetite warped into gluttony, or natural sexual energy corrupted into obsessive lust. Consider the drive for security, when perverted, becoming a ravenous greed that devours everything in its path. These are the mares. They are not just powerful, they are destructive, and they feed on the very substance of our spiritual potential, consuming our peace, our integrity, and our connection to the divine. Their divine ancestry is the final, tragic clue. These were once noble creatures, born of the gods, but under the influence of a tyrannical king, their nature was horrifically inverted. This points directly to the source of our own distorted passions. They are not foreign demons that attack us from without, but aspects of our own divine life force that have been captured and corrupted by a part of ourselves, by the inner Dione. This inner tyrant is the unregenerated ego, the part of us that identifies solely with its appetites and seeks to use the soul's own energy for its own selfish, ultimately self-destructive ends. Hercules understands that he cannot simply fight the mares. To subdue them, he must first deal with the king who commands them. In a shocking and deeply symbolic act, Hercules confronts and slays Diomes, and then feeds the king's own body to his monstrous horses. The moment they consume their master, a profound transformation occurs. The mares become calm and docile, their frenzied hunger completely sated. This is the brutal, alchemical secret of this labor. You cannot tame a distorted passion by fighting it head-on, by merely suppressing the desire itself. That approach only makes it more ravenous. The true work is to confront and dismantle the very part of your psyche that feeds and sustains that passion. You must starve the desire by cutting off its supply at the source. The inner Diomes is the voice that whispers you need more to be happy, that your worth is tied to your possessions, that your loneliness can be filled by another person's body without their soul. It is the part of you that believes fulfillment comes from the outside in. When you have the courage to face this inner tyrant, to see its lies clearly, and withdraw your belief from it, you perform the mythic act of feeding it to its own mares. The energy that was once trapped in a compulsive, devouring cycle is suddenly released, the passion, no longer being agitated and directed by a selfish agenda, naturally settles into a state of peace. That same intense energy that was fueling an addiction can now be redirected as unwavering discipline. The fiery emotion that was burning up a relationship can transform into a powerful, compassionate love. The mares, now calm, can be led away and put to useful work. This labor reveals that our most destructive urges are not enemies to be killed, but lost parts of our own soul, crying out for redemption. They are screaming to be freed from the tyranny of the lower self. The ultimate question is not how to chain your desires, but what inner tyrant are you still feeding, that in turn keeps your own beautiful energies trapped in a state of monstrous hunger. An inner tyrant slain, our hero now seeks a prize of a very different kind. His ninth labor sends him not to a dark swamp or a monster's lair, but to the legendary land of the Amazons, a society of warrior women living in harmony, governed by their queen, Hippolyta. His mission is to retrieve her sacred belt, a girdle given to her by the god of war himself. This is no act of plunder. The belt symbolizes the spiritualized warrior spirit, a force of immense courage, fierce independence, and a will so focused it can cut through any distraction. This is not the brute aggression of the Nemean Lion, nor the maddened rage of Diom's mares. This is power refined by discipline and directed by a higher purpose. Hippolyta herself is the embodiment of this balanced energy. She is a ruler, a protector, a sovereign being whose strength exists in harmony with her feminine nature. Her belt is not just an ornament, it is a symbol of her authority, her self-containment, and her ability to wield power without being corrupted by it. The quest for this object represents our own need to integrate this sacred warrior archetype into our spiritual journey. You must learn to fight for your soul's growth with the same unwavering determination a warrior shows in battle. Think of the courage it takes to stand by a difficult but truthful decision when everyone else urges you to take the easy path. That is the warrior spirit. Consider the fierce independence required to break free from a toxic relationship or a dead-end pattern, to declare sovereignty over your own life. That focused will is the belt you are seeking to claim. Hercules approaches the Amazons with respect, explaining his divine task. Hippolyta, recognizing the nobility of his quest, agrees to give him the belt freely. This is the ideal scenario, the moment when the balanced masculine and feminine principles within us recognize each other and agree to cooperate. It is that beautiful inner state where your assertive will and your receptive intuition work in perfect tandem, and the higher virtues of the soul are willingly offered up to your conscious self. But the myth, in its wisdom, shows us that this integration is rarely so simple. The other Amazons, seeing a strange man in their midst and hearing only rumors, assume the worst. They believe Hercules has come to kidnap their queen, fueled by a protective rage that has lost its connection to the bigger picture. They attack. This is the ensuing conflict, the profound challenge of balancing power with compassion. The warrior energy, when disconnected from the heart's wisdom, becomes paranoid, defensive, and ultimately destructive. It sees threats where there are none and creates the very battles it seeks to avoid. In the ensuing chaos, Hercules, believing Hippolyta has betrayed him, fights back, and in the struggle, the queen is tragically killed. He takes the belt, but it is a victory stained with sorrow. This tragic misunderstanding is a powerful lesson for our own inner work. How often does your own inner warrior, your will to protect yourself and your growth, become overzealous? You set a firm boundary, but deliver it with such coldness that you damage a relationship. You pursue a goal with intense focus, but in the process, you trample on the feelings of those who are trying to help you. You arm yourself with spiritual knowledge, but use it to judge others who are on a different path. This is the warrior without compassion, the belt taken by force rather than received as a gift. The true integration of the ninth labor is to hold both the sword and the heart in a single hand. It is to have the courage to speak your truth, but to do it with such kindness that the truth can actually be heard. It is to be so independent in your journey that you need no one's approval, yet so compassionate that you understand everyone else is fighting a hard battle too. Your spiritual warrior is not here to conquer the world, but to defend the sacred space of your own awakening. What boundary in your life needs the firmness of a warrior's resolve, and what relationship requires the gentle touch of a queen's compassion to truly heal? A victory stained with sorrow now propels the hero to the very edge of the known world. His 10th labor sends him beyond the pillars of Hercules, into the crimson-hued waters of the sunset, to a remote red island called Erythea. His mission is to retrieve the legendary cattle of Geryon. This is no simple raid for livestock. These herds represent your soul's own scattered inheritance, the vast reservoir of spiritual energy and potential that rightfully belongs to you, but has been lost, misplaced, or stolen by the illusions of existence. Imagine all the creative power you have wasted on worry, the life force you have poured into maintaining a false image, the mental clarity dissipated in endless distraction. That is your cattle, grazing on a distant shore, under the watch of a monstrous guardian. Geryon is a terrifying figure, a giant with 3 bodies joined at the waist. He is not just a physical threat, he is the embodiment of the great delusion, the belief that the 3 worlds of our experience, the physical, the astral, and the mental, are the ultimate reality. His triple form symbolizes how this illusion manifests on all 3 planes simultaneously, trapping our life force within its confines. On the physical plane, it is the illusion that security and happiness come from external possessions and status, that your body is all you are. On the astral plane, the world of emotion, it is the illusion that your fleeting feelings define your eternal worth, that you are your sadness or your anger. On the mental plane, it is the ultimate illusion that the chattering voice in your head is the real you, the thinker of your thoughts. Geryon is the guardian of this triple prison, and your scattered cattle, your divine inheritance, are the prize he hoards. To reach this island, Hercules must first undergo an arduous journey, crossing deserts and facing the scorching sun. This is the long, dry period of spiritual seeking, where the initial glamour has worn off and the path feels barren and endless. It is the dark night of the soul, where you question everything you thought you knew. When he finally arrives, his first task is to deal with Geryon's 2-headed guard dog, Orthrus, and his herdsman, Eurytion. These are the preliminary guardians of the threshold. Orthrus, the 2-headed hound, represents doubt and cynicism, the inner voices that bark in unison, telling you that your quest is foolish and your inheritance is a myth. Eurytion, the herdsman, is the force of habit and complacency, the part of you that has grown accustomed to living with a fraction of your power and does not want the trouble of reclaiming the whole herd. Hercules dispatches them both, a necessary act of silencing the inner critics and breaking the chains of comfortable stagnation. Only then does he face the triple giant himself. The battle with Geryon is the climax of this internal war. It is the moment you consciously confront the core lie that you are merely a body, a bundle of emotions, and a random collection of thoughts. You see this illusion for what it is, a composite entity that has no central, enduring self. Hercules draws his bow and, with a single, focused arrow, pierces all 3 of Geryon's bodies at once. This arrow is the arrow of transcendent awareness, the sudden, piercing insight that sees through the illusion of separation on every level. It is the direct realization that you are not your body, you are not your feelings, you are not your thoughts. You are the aware space in which all these phenomena arise and pass away. In that single moment of seeing, the giant falls. The illusion cannot survive the light of conscious recognition. With Geryon defeated, the cattle are now free, but the labor is not over. Hercules must now drive these herds all the way back to Greece, a long and difficult journey fraught with challenges and attempts by others to steal the prize. This is the critical phase of integration. It is one thing to have a profound spiritual insight, a fleeting moment of enlightenment on the red island of your meditation cushion. It is another thing entirely to bring that realization down into the messy reality of your daily life, to embody it in your relationships, your work, and your every interaction. The journey back is the slow, patient process of gathering all the scattered fragments of your life force that were once lost to fear, desire, and ignorance, and bringing them under the conscious direction of your awakened will. You are reclaiming your energy from past grudges, from future anxieties, from wasteful entertainments, and you are herding it all back toward the center of your being. What scattered parts of your own soul's inheritance are still grazing on that distant red island, waiting for you to make the long journey to bring them home? Those crimson waters he sailed were more than just a distant sea. The pillars of Hercules were not merely stone columns marking the edge of a map. In the language of the soul, they represent the ultimate boundary, the final frontier between the world you know and the infinite realms of spirit that lie beyond. To pass between them is to willingly cross a threshold from which there is no return as the same person. It is the point of no return on the spiritual path, where you leave behind the comfortable certainties of the mundane mind and venture into the vast, unknown depths of your own being. This journey to the west, into the land of the setting sun, is one of the most misunderstood and profound symbols in all of esoteric tradition. The setting sun does not symbolize death or an end, but the necessary dissolution of your material consciousness. It is the quieting of the ego's relentless day, the letting go of all the identities you have accumulated, all the stories you tell yourself about who you are. Think of it as the moment you finally release your grip on the need to control every outcome, to understand every mystery with your logical mind. You are allowing the familiar landscape of your old self to be swallowed by the horizon, trusting that a new kind of light awaits you in the darkness. This is not a journey of attainment, but of relinquishment. You are not sailing west to acquire something new, but to let everything false within you finally set. Your attachment to status, your fear of what others think, your belief that your past defines your future, all of this must be surrendered to the deepening twilight. It feels like a kind of death, and in a very real way, it is. It is the death of the illusion that you are separate from the source of all life, yet this cosmic sunset is always followed by a dawn. The darkness is not an emptiness, but a womb. It is in this state of profound unknowing, this spiritual night, that the seeds of your true, immortal self can finally germinate. The red island of Erythea, bathed in this eternal sunset light, is the birthplace of your soul's own potential, waiting for you on the other side of your own surrender. What old version of yourself is the universe gently asking you to let set, so that a truer dawn can break within you? Reclaiming your soul's inheritance from the red island is a monumental feat, but it is not the final destination. With the cattle of Geryon now safely returned, Hercules confronts a labor that stands as the very pinnacle of the soul's aspiration, the quest for the golden apples of the Hesperides. These are no ordinary fruits. They are the legendary apples of immortality, growing in a secret garden at the very edge of the world, guarded by a 100-headed dragon named Ladon. This 11th labor is the ultimate allegory for achieving enlightenment itself, the state of conscious immortality, where the soul knows itself to be eternal, untouched by the birth and death of the physical form. The golden apple is the fruit of this realization, the luminous knowledge of your own divine nature, ripened over countless lifetimes of effort. You have felt its echo in those rare moments of perfect peace, when time seems to stop and a profound, wordless certainty fills your entire being. That fleeting sense of wholeness is a taste of the apple, a glimpse of the garden. To even approach this sacred grove, Hercules must first find it, a journey that requires him to seek guidance from the ancient sea god, Nereus. This represents the need to plunge into the deepest, most formless waters of your own unconscious, to surrender your personal will, the wisdom of the timeless, cosmic mind that knows the way to your own core. The garden itself is a state of consciousness, a level of awareness so refined and self-contained that it exists beyond the reach of the ordinary world. It is your own innermost sanctuary, the heart of your being. Guarding this sacred space is the dragon Ladon, coiled inextricably around the trunk of the tree of life. This is not a monster to be slain, but the ultimate guardian of the threshold, the serpent power known in many traditions as the Kundalini. In its dormant state, this cosmic energy rests at the base of the spine, a coiled potential that, when awakened, carries the consciousness upward to its divine source. Ladon's 100 heads symbolize the myriad channels of psychic energy and perception that must be unified and directed toward this single, supreme goal. To confront the dragon directly is to risk being consumed by a fire you are not yet ready to contain. Hercules, in his wisdom, does not fight the dragon. He realizes that the direct path is barred. Instead, he turns to the one being who can retrieve the apples for him, the Titan Atlas, the giant condemned by Zeus to hold up the weight of the celestial spheres upon his shoulders. Atlas represents the most profound burden of the spiritual seeker, the crushing weight of cosmic duality itself. He is the personification of the illusion that you are separate from the universe, the one who feels responsible for carrying the entire world of opposites, good and evil, light and dark, pleasure and pain. This is the ultimate fatigue, the exhaustion that comes from believing you are the sole author and sustainer of your reality. Hercules makes Atlas a proposition. He will hold up the sky for a moment if the Titan will go into the garden and pluck the apples. This is the great act of spiritual surrender. You cannot grasp enlightenment through effort alone. You must first be willing to put down the unbearable burden of your separate self, the illusion that you are the one doing everything, controlling everything, carrying everything. When Hercules takes the weight of the sky onto his own shoulders, he is demonstrating the strength required to bear the infinite, but only temporarily. This is the final test of the integrated hero, to hold the vastness of cosmic consciousness without being identified with it, without collapsing under its immensity. The moment Atlas is freed from his burden, he walks into the garden, bypasses the dragon with an ease that seems miraculous, and retrieves the golden apples. The fruit of immortality is not attained by the striving ego, but by the part of us that has always carried the universe, the transcendent self. The apples are the natural possession of this higher aspect. But the story does not end there. Upon his return, Atlas, having tasted a moment of freedom, does not want to resume his burden. He offers to deliver the apples himself, leaving Hercules trapped holding up the sky. This is the final, subtle trap on the path, the temptation to abandon the world entirely once you have glimpsed the divine, to remain in a state of blissful separation, to renounce the earth for the sake of heaven. Hercules, ever the master of practical wisdom, agrees to the deal, but asks Atlas to just hold the sky for a moment, so he can adjust his cloak for comfort. The moment the Titan, now holding the apples, takes back the weight, Hercules picks up the fruit and walks away free. This brilliant ruse reveals the ultimate truth. The fruits of enlightenment are not for escaping the world, but for transforming your experience of it. You do not shed your humanity. You infuse it with the golden light of immortality. The burden of duality is not meant to be carried forever by a suffering ego, but to be transcended by a consciousness that realizes it is one with the sky it holds. You return to the world, but you are no longer of it. You carry the apple within your heart, and from that unshakable center, you meet every challenge not as a heavy burden, but as a divine play. The garden was never a place to escape to, but a state of being to bring back into the world. What cosmic weight are you still trying to carry on your own shoulders, when the secret to your freedom might simply be the willingness to put it down, if only for a moment? That moment of holding up the sky was far more than a clever trick. In taking the celestial spheres onto his own shoulders, Hercules was performing the ultimate act of spiritual empathy. He was feeling, directly and viscerally, the immense weight of cosmic responsibility, the interconnected web of cause and effect that binds all of existence. This is not a burden of worry or control, but the profound understanding that your every thought, word, and action sends ripples through the fabric of the whole. Think of the last time you made a decision rooted in kindness and saw how it lifted the mood of an entire room, or consider a moment of fear you allowed to dictate your actions and how that contraction of energy seemed to darken your entire day. You were, in a small but real way, feeling the weight of your own personal sky. Atlas represents the part of us that has been crushed by this awareness, the ego that mistakenly believes it must single-handedly carry the universe, leading to exhaustion, burnout, and a sense of profound isolation. Hercules, however, demonstrates a different way. He holds the weight not as a permanent sentence, but as a conscious, temporary act. He does not become the sky, he simply supports it. This is the critical distinction for anyone on a spiritual path. You are not here to fix the entire world, to heal every wound, or to solve every injustice through your personal power alone. That is the path of the martyr, the weary Atlas. Your true role is to become a clear, stable conduit for a higher force, to hold a space of conscious awareness where divine intelligence can operate through you. You bear the weight without being identified with it. You feel the world's pain without drowning in it. You see the interconnectedness of all life, and from that place of deep knowing, you act with a compassion that is wise and sustainable, not draining and desperate. This shift in consciousness is the final key that unlocks the garden. The golden apples of immortality cannot be grasped by a hand still clenched from carrying a burden. They can only be received by a soul that has learned to rest in the vastness, trusting that the universe is ultimately holding itself, and that your true self is one with that supporting presence. What heavy burden of responsibility are you carrying that might actually be lightened by this simple, radical shift in perception? The final gate of the soul's great journey opens not to a monster, but to a guardian. Hercules stands at the mouth of the underworld, tasked with his 12th and most terrifying labor, to descend into the realm of Hades and bring back the three-headed hound, Cerberus, alive. This is the ultimate descent, the journey into the very bedrock of our being, the vast and often hidden domain of the subconscious mind. The underworld is not a place of punishment, but the inner storehouse of everything we have ever been, every memory, every forgotten trauma, every past life imprint that shapes our present reality without our conscious knowledge. It is the shadow self, the basement of the psyche, where we have stored all the experiences we were not ready to face in the light of day. To go there willingly is the bravest act of the spiritual warrior. Cerberus, the three-headed dog who guards the gate, is the perfect symbol for the core mechanisms that keep this shadow locked away. His three heads are not random. They are the primal energies of fear, desire, and ignorance. The head of fear barks at any attempt to explore the unknown within us, snarling with anxieties about what we might find. The head of desire whines and pulls us toward fleeting comforts and distractions, anything to keep us from looking too deeply. The head of ignorance simply sleeps, lulling us into a passive acceptance of our surface-level reality, convincing us that what we see is all there is. Together, these three heads form a powerful guardian that ensures the contents of our personal underworld remain buried and unexamined. They are the final, integrated expression of the lower self. To capture this beast, Hercules is forbidden from using any weapons. He cannot fight fear with more fear, or desire with suppression, or ignorance with intellectual force. He must enter the underworld armed with nothing but the integrated power he has gained from all his previous labors. the lion's skin of mastered will, the clarity from the Hydra's defeat, and the golden apple of immortal awareness shining in his heart. He walks directly into the darkness, past the shades of his own past, and finds the monstrous hound at its post. In a stunning act of non-violent mastery, he simply wraps his immense, loving arms around all three heads of the beast at once and holds it. He does not strangle it, he contains it. He embraces the fear, the desire, and the ignorance simultaneously, absorbing their frantic energy into his own vast, still presence. In that embrace, the beast is subdued. This is the profound moment of final integration. You do not destroy your subconscious patterns, your deepest fears, or your primal cravings. You bring the full light of your conscious awareness to them. You sit with your terror without running. You observe your most compulsive desires without judging or acting. You illuminate the corners of your own ignorance with a gentle, curious light. When you can hold these three energies in the compassionate embrace of your witnessing self, they lose their power to control you. They are captured. The labor, however, is not complete until Hercules brings the hound up to the surface, into the light of the living world. This is the final, crucial step. It is not enough to simply explore your shadow in meditation or therapy. The ultimate mastery is to integrate these buried aspects into your daily, waking consciousness. You must bring the fearful part of you into the light of your relationships. You must allow the desiring part of you to be seen and transformed by your higher purpose. You must let your ignorance be educated by the world itself. When Hercules emerges from the underworld with Cerberus on a leash, he presents the beast to a terrified King Eurystheus, who immediately begs him to take it back. The integrated shadow is often frightening to the unawakened ego, which prefers to keep things neatly compartmentalized. But for the hero, this act signifies the final release from the tyranny of the unseen. There are no more monsters in the basement, no more skeletons in the closet. Every part of you has been acknowledged, embraced, and brought into the service of your whole being. The 12 labors are complete. The hero has journeyed from being a slave to his passions to becoming the sovereign of his entire inner kingdom. What part of your own personal underworld is finally ready to be brought into the light, not to be destroyed, but to be loved into wholeness? These 12 labors form a complete cosmic circuit, a perfect mirror of the soul's journey through the 12 signs of the zodiac. This is not a coincidence, but a deliberate map of spiritual initiation, where each labor corresponds to the essential lessons and challenges of an astrological archetype, guiding the soul through the great wheel of incarnation and experience. The journey begins with the first labor, the Nemean Lion, and its connection to the sign of Leo. Just as Leo rules the heart and the expression of one's essential creative power, Hercules must confront the raw, egoic force of the lion in its dark cave. This is the initial test of the soul learning to master its own vital core, to transform base pride into courageous self-expression. The victory grants him the lion's skin, the integrated ego that becomes a source of authentic strength, not arrogance. From there, the soul moves into Virgo, symbolized by the Hydra in the swamp of Lerna. Virgo is the sign of purification, analysis, and meticulous service. And here the hero must confront the tangled, proliferating knots of the impure mind. The many heads of the Hydra are the scattered, critical thoughts and obsessive details that can overwhelm the Virgoan quest for perfection. The solution is not more analysis, but the sacred fire of Iolaus, representing the higher mind's pure discrimination that burns away chaos and brings order from within. The graceful Lernean Hydra then carries us into Libra, the sign of balance, beauty, and the pursuit of harmony. Capturing this sacred animal of Artemis requires not force, but patience, diplomacy, and a reverence for the divine feminine. This is the soul's lesson in relating to the world with grace, seeking equilibrium, and making peace with the elusive nature of intuition and beauty itself. The labor of the Erymanthian boar plunges us into the depths of Scorpio. This sign governs the primal life force, the realm of passion, power, and shared resources. The boar is that untamed, destructive power of the unconscious, and driving it into the snow is the ultimate act of scorpionic transmutation, using the cold light of awareness to exhaust and master the raw, rooting energy of desire, transforming it into a potent source of spiritual will. Then comes the Augean stables, a labor of immense, mundane scale that perfectly aligns with Sagittarius. This sign seeks meaning and expansion, but its higher vision can be bogged down by the accumulated filth of dogma, rigid belief systems, and philosophical clutter. Hercules, with his sagacious plan, does not clean the stables by hand. He redirects the flow of two mighty rivers. This is the Sagittarian spirit, using a grand, inspired idea to achieve a seemingly impossible task, washing away the stagnant debris of the past with a flood of new understanding and higher truth. The Stymphalian birds, with their shrill, chaotic fluttering, belong to Capricorn. This sign is about structure, ambition, and building a legacy in the material world. The birds represent the distracting anxieties, the petty fears, and the pessimistic thoughts that peck away at our discipline and threaten to undermine our long-term goals. The divine rattle given by Athena is the Capricorn solution, using the authoritative sound of focused intent and practical wisdom to shatter the noise of doubt, clearing the mental space so one can build with unwavering focus. The capture of the Cretan bull brings us to Aquarius, the sign of revolutionary spirit and the higher mind. The bull is the raw, creative fire of the universe, the Kundalini energy that can either create a monster or power a new age. Aquarius is about channeling this potent, unconventional force for the collective good, freeing it from the labyrinth of selfish desire and directing its tremendous power toward innovative and liberating ends. The mares of Diomes, with their twisted, devouring nature, resonate with the psychic depths of Pisces. This sign embodies dissolution, compassion, but also the danger of losing oneself in the shadows of others or in addictive escapes. These mares are the passions that have been perverted, feeding on the very substance of the soul. Defeating the inner tyrant Diomes and feeding him to his own horses is the ultimate Piscean act of redemptive sacrifice, breaking the cycle of victim and victimizer by transforming the poison into its own cure. The belt of Hippolyta initiates the cycle anew with Aries, the warrior archetype. This is about the courage to claim one's own sovereignty and independence, to fight for one's spiritual identity. The tragedy that occurs reflects the Aries shadow, where the pure warrior energy, when disconnected from the heart, becomes impulsive and destructive, teaching that true strength must be balanced with wisdom. The cattle of Geryon, herded from the Red Island at the edge of the world, align with Taurus. This sign is concerned with values, resources, and the soul's true inheritance. Geryon, the three-bodied giant, is the illusion of material reality that hoards our spiritual wealth. Reclaiming the cattle is the Taurian lesson of discerning true value from false security. And the long journey back is the patient process of integrating this reclaimed energy into the very fabric of our earthly existence. The apples of the Hesperides, the fruit of immortality, belong to Gemini. This sign seeks the ultimate knowledge, the union of opposites. The garden is a state of conscious knowing, and the struggle with Atlas is the dance between the twins of the personal self and the higher self, the realization that the burden of duality is an illusion that can be transcended through intelligent trickery and the synthesis of perspectives. Finally, the capture of Cerberus completes the cycle with Cancer. This sign rules the depths of the subconscious, the home, and the emotional body. The descent into the underworld is a return to the womb of the soul, the Cancerian realm of primal memory and feeling. To embrace the three-headed hound is to make peace with the deepest, most instinctual parts of our nature, to bring the hidden self into the light of conscious nurturing, and in doing so, to finally feel truly at home in the entire cosmos. This zodiacal wheel is your own soul's epic, a celestial mirror of the inner transformations awaiting your conscious embrace. This initial quartet of labors forms a sacred cross within the soul's landscape, a foundational purification of the four elemental forces that constitute our very being. Each of these first four trials corresponds to one of the cardinal directions and one of the classical elements, creating a stable, balanced foundation upon which all further spiritual work must be built. The Nemean Lion, emerging from its dark eastern grove, is a creature of pure fire. This is the raw, unbridled force of your will and your primal identity, the blazing energy of the solar plexus that must be confronted and integrated before any true progress can be made. Its invulnerable hide shows us that this fiery power cannot be defeated by external means, but must be embraced from within, transformed from a beast that controls you into the sacred cloak that protects you. From the fiery east, we move to the watery swamp of Lerna in the west, home of the many-headed Hydra. This creature is the element of water in its most chaotic and illusory state, representing the endless, fluid flow of the emotional and mental bodies. Just as water takes the shape of its container, the Hydra's thoughts and fears multiply to fill all available space. The solution is not to fight water with water, but to apply the purifying fire of spiritual insight, the torch of Iolaus that cauterizes the emotional wounds and stops the endless flow of anxiety at its source. Then the journey turns northward to the cool, airy forests where the Lernean Hydra resides. This graceful, elusive creature is the essence of the air element, symbolizing the higher mind, the intuition, and the breath of divine inspiration. Its golden horns are like antennae tuned to the subtle currents of spiritual knowledge. Capturing the hind requires the opposite approach of wrestling the lion. It demands patience, reverence, and a gentle pursuit, teaching us that the airy realms of insight cannot be seized by force, but must be welcomed with a quiet and receptive heart. Finally, our hero confronts the earthy, southern force of the Erymanthian boar. This is the element of earth in its most raw and visceral form, the pure, rooting vitality of the physical and etheric bodies. The boar's tendency to tear up the ground with its tusks mirrors how our own unchecked vital energy can devastate our inner stability and physical well-being. Driving it into the snow is the act of using the cool, reflective quality of air to calm and exhaust the frantic, earthy compulsions, capturing this tremendous life force so it may be harnessed for sacred work, not wasted in destructive rampages. Together, these four labors are not a random sequence, but a deliberate, alchemical process. You first master your inner fire, your core identity. You then purify your inner water, your emotional and mental flow. With a clarified emotional body, you can then attune to your inner air, the higher mind and intuition. And with this clear awareness, you can finally subdue and direct your inner earth, your raw life force and physical vitality. This creates a stable, balanced cross within your being, a sacred temple where the four elemental forces no longer war against each other, but work in harmonious concert, providing the solid ground from which your soul can truly begin its ascent. What elemental imbalance within your own constitution currently calls most loudly for the hero's touch? Hercules strides through these myths not merely as a strongman, but as a brilliant embodiment of the sun itself. He is the archetypal solar hero, a living symbol of the divine light of consciousness that resides at the core of your own being. This is the solar logos, the cosmic creative principle, or what some traditions might call the indwelling Christ consciousness, the eternal and unchanging self that journeys through the temporary dramas of the personality. His 12 labors are not random adventures, but a precise celestial map, mirroring the sun's annual passage through the 12 houses of the zodiac. Just as the sun moves through each constellation, illuminating different sectors of the sky and influencing life on Earth, the soul of Hercules moves through each labor, illuminating and purifying a different aspect of the human experience. The Nemean Lion is the blazing test of Leo, the Lernean Hydra is the refined pursuit of Libra, and the descent for Cerberus is the profound introspection of Cancer. Each step is a cosmic alignment, a necessary stage in the soul's education as it learns to express its solar nature more fully. This journey culminates in his apotheosis, his ascension to Mount Olympus to take his place among the immortal gods. This is not a reward for a job well done, but the symbolic victory of the immortal spirit itself. It represents the final realization that you are not the body that is born and will die, nor the personality that struggles and learns. You are the eternal solar principle that uses these experiences as fuel for its own radiant awakening. The cycles of incarnation, the rounds of birth and death, are simply the zodiacal wheel through which this inner sun travels, gathering wisdom and power until it finally remembers its true, deathless nature. Your own life, with its recurring challenges and hard-won triumphs, is your personal version of this solar journey. Every time you choose courage over fear or love over separation, you are performing a small labor of Hercules. You are allowing a little more of that inner sun to shine through the temporary clouds of your human condition. What would it mean to walk through your day not as a victim of circumstance, but as a solar hero in training, consciously radiating the light of your true self into every dark corner you encounter? Ancient alchemists were not merely primitive chemists. They were spiritual cartographers mapping the very transformation of the soul. Their great work, the quest to create the philosopher's stone from base metal, is the same journey Hercules undertakes, with each labor marking a distinct stage in this sacred science of self. The initial, brutal confrontations with monsters like the Nemean Lion and the Hydra plunge the hero into the stage of Negredo, the blackening. This is the necessary descent into the prima materia, the raw, chaotic substance of the unawakened self, where everything is dark, confused, and fraught with shadow. It is the soul's dark night, where you must face your own inner beasts in their lair, feeling the full weight of your own ignorance and fear. This blackening is not a failure, but the essential first step, the dissolution of the old identity, so that a new one can be forged. From this fertile darkness emerges the stage of albedo, the whitening, a profound purification. Hercules cleansing the Augean stables is the ultimate symbol of this phase. The accumulated filth of a lifetime is washed away by the divine, flowing waters of a higher consciousness, leaving the soul clean, white, and receptive. This is the purification of the astral body, where emotions are clarified and the mind becomes like a polished mirror, ready to reflect a higher light. You see this whitening in your own life when a long-held grievance finally releases its hold, or a period of meditation leaves you feeling internally spotless and serene. But the final and most glorious stage is the rubedo, the reddening, the culmination of the entire process. This is the achievement of the golden apples of the Hesperides, the fruit of conscious immortality. The color red symbolizes the fully integrated and awakened soul, blazing with the fire of divine life, having successfully united the opposing forces within itself. The philosopher's stone is not a physical object, but this very state of being, the redeemed and perfected human who can transmute the lead of earthly suffering into the gold of spiritual wisdom. Your own moments of profound joy, unconditional love, or fearless clarity are fleeting tastes of this rubedo state, proof that the alchemical furnace within you is always at work. What base metal in your own character is currently in the fire, being tested and transformed by the heat of your daily experiences into something more precious and eternal. The monsters Hercules faced are not just relics of ancient myth. They are living inhabitants of your own psyche. This is where the timeless wisdom of the labors converges with the groundbreaking work of Carl Jung, who mapped the very same territory under a different name. Jung called the ultimate goal of this inner work individuation the lifelong process of becoming the unique, whole person you were meant to be by integrating the fragmented parts of your unconscious into a unified self. The 12 labors are a masterclass in this exact process. Each beast Hercules confronts is a powerful archetype, a universal pattern of the human experience that resides in the collective unconscious. More specifically, each one represents a facet of what Jung termed the shadow self, the hidden repository of all the traits, desires, and potentials that your conscious personality has repressed, denied, or simply failed to recognize. You encounter these shadowy figures every day, though you may not call them by their mythic names. That surge of irrational anger you feel when a colleague receives praise, a feeling you quickly bury under a smile, is a tiny head of the Lernean Hydra, the shadow of envy and resentment. The compulsive need to scroll through social media, numbing a deeper sense of emptiness, is a whisper from the mares of Dion's, the shadow of addictive desire. That critical inner voice that tells you are not good enough, not smart enough, not spiritual enough, is the snarling of Cerberus, the three-headed guardian of your own deepest insecurities. Jung understood that we cannot become whole by simply ignoring these parts of ourselves. To try and kill the shadow is as futile as Hercules trying to slay the Hydra with a sword. The repressed content does not disappear. It only gains power in the darkness, influencing your behavior in destructive and unpredictable ways. Projection is the clearest sign of this unintegrated shadow. You vehemently dislike in others the very qualities you have disowned in yourself. The person you judge as arrogant might be carrying the shadow of the confidence you have suppressed. The one you see as weak might be holding the vulnerability you refuse to acknowledge in your own heart. Hercules' labors provide the precise methodology for healing this split. Each task is a conscious, courageous act of shadow integration. When Hercules wrestles the Nemean Lion, he is not destroying his primal power, he is embracing it. He brings the raw, egoic energy of the solar plexus out of the dark cave of repression and cloaks himself in its strength. This is the individuation process in action, taking a feared and rejected aspect of the self and making it a source of conscious power. When he cleanses the Augean stables, he is performing a massive act of psychic hygiene, flushing out the accumulated filth of old emotional wounds and negative thought patterns that have festered in the unconscious for decades. Modern therapeutic modalities are, in essence, structured ways to accomplish these same heroic tasks. Cognitive behavioral therapy helps you identify and cauterize the multiplying heads of anxious thinking, much like Iolaus with his torch. Somatic therapies guide you in safely encountering and calming the frantic, trapped energy of the Uromanthian boar held within your body's memory. Depth, psychology, and mindfulness encourage the descent into your own underworld to befriend the many-headed Cerberus of your core fears. Your own path of self-development is your personal series of labors. That difficult conversation you have been avoiding is your Nemean Lion. The bad habit you are trying to break is your own personal Hydra. The creative project you are afraid to start is your elusive Cerberus hind, calling you to pursue it with patience and reverence. By seeing your struggles through this mythic lens, they are transformed from random sufferings into sacred initiations. You are not broken, you are on a hero's journey. The ultimate goal is not a life without challenges, but a self without enemies, where every part of you, even the most monstrous, has been acknowledged, understood, and invited home. What exiled part of your own shadow is currently knocking at the door of your awareness, asking not to be slain, but to be seen? Yet the 12 labors were never the full story. Beyond the zodiacal wheel and the official trials, whispers persist of a secret 13th labor, a hidden chapter in the hero's saga that begins only after his official tasks are complete. This is not a labor of conquest, but one of radical humility and selfless service, a stage beyond personal enlightenment where the liberated being turns his entire focus to the liberation of others. One of the most poignant expressions of this is the period Hercules spends in servitude to Queen Omphale, the mighty hero who has strangled lions and descended into hell, willingly lays aside his iconic lion's skin and club. He dresses in soft, feminine garments and performs the delicate, domestic tasks of a woman, while Omphale herself wears his armor and carries his weapons. On the surface, it seems a bizarre humiliation, a fall from grace, but esoterically, it is the ultimate initiation. This is the final surrender of the solar hero's radiant, masculine will to the receptive, lunar wisdom of the soul. Omphale represents the divine feminine principle, the intuitive, nurturing intelligence that governs the inner world. For the enlightened being, the great work is no longer about proving personal power, but about learning true powerlessness, about allowing the soul's deeper, quieter wisdom to direct the immense spiritual force now at its disposal. It is the ultimate balancing of the scales, where action arises not from egoic desire, but from a selfless, compassionate response to the needs of the world. Another facet of this 13th labor is seen in his later adventures, like his pivotal role as a crewmate on the Argo in the quest for the Golden Fleece. Here, Hercules, the godlike hero, becomes simply one of the crew, rowing alongside others, using his strength not for his own glory, but for the success of a collective mission. He does not captain the ship, he serves it. This symbolizes the final stage of the bodhisattva vow, the being who, having reached the threshold of nirvana, chooses to remain in the cycle of birth and death to help all other beings cross over. The personal journey is complete, but the universal work has just begun. Your own spiritual path will inevitably reach a similar crossroads after a profound awakening or a deep healing, after you have faced your own inner monsters and reclaimed your power. A quiet question will eventually arrive. Now what? Is this newfound peace just for you? A private sanctuary to be enjoyed in isolation? Or is it a wellspring meant to be shared? The 13th labor is the answer. It is the decision to take the golden apples of your insight and feed them to a hungry world. It is the choice to use the disciplined will from the lion's skin to hold space for someone else's pain. It is the act of kneeling, like Hercules before Omphale, and asking your own soul, "How may I serve?" This is not about grand, heroic gestures. It is found in the small, unseen acts of kindness that ask for nothing in return. It is the patient listening you offer a friend in distress, your own inner hydra of impatience fully calmed. It is the creative energy of your mastered cretin bull, channeled not into personal ambition, but into a project that uplifts your community. The hero's journey does not end with apotheoses on a lonely mountain peak. It finds its ultimate fulfillment when the hero comes back down to the marketplace, wearing a disguise, and quietly gets to work. What humble, unseen service is your own awakened heart being called to perform, not as a duty, but as the final, joyful labor of your soul? This entire cosmic journey, from the dark cave to the gates of the underworld, charts a universal path of initiation that belongs to every one of us. The story of Hercules is far more than an ancient myth. It is the eternal story of the human soul itself. It is a precise and timeless map for confronting the chaos within, for conquering our own inner beasts, not to destroy them, but to transmute their raw power into the very substance of our awakening. Each labor you have walked through is a sacred mirror, reflecting a stage in your own evolution, from identifying with the temporary personality to realizing your true, divine nature. You have seen how the invulnerable lion of your ego can become a cloak of unshakable will, you have learned how the multiplying heads of mental chaos can be stilled by the torch of higher awareness. You have witnessed how the wild boar of your vital energy can be captured and directed toward a sacred purpose. This is the great alchemy of the soul, the process of turning the lead of your struggles into the gold of your wisdom. The hero's journey is your journey. The monsters are your monsters. The ultimate victory is not a distant fantasy reserved for gods and legends, but a living potential waiting to be claimed in the heart of your own daily life. So as we bring this exploration to a close, we turn the map over to you. Look at the landscape of your own life right now. Which of these 12 labors are you currently facing? Is it the Nemean Lion of a powerful fear you must embrace, or the Hydra of an anxious thought pattern you need to illuminate? Are you cleansing the Augean stables of an old emotional burden, or patiently pursuing the Lernean Hydra of a creative inspiration? Your greatest challenge is not a random obstacle. It is your next sacred initiation. We would be honored to hear your insights. Share in the comments which labor resonates most with your current journey. Your story is the next verse in this eternal, unfolding